So, as I said, my name is Elisabetta Gonzalez, and I'm the director of the Friend School Teacher Preparation Program. This slide here gives you a sense of what makes the Friend School program really distinct from other alternative licensure programs in the state, and it's what drew me to come direct this program after 10 years teaching public school, and then 5 years directing more traditional teacher preparation programs. So the motto of Friend School is actually a preschool through eighth grade independent school in Boulder that also houses this alternative licensure program, which is a really wonderful way to sort of blend progressive independent school pedagogy and values with public school teacher licensure. So it really works for anyone, whether you're interested in public schools or independent. But the motto or the sort of the slogan of Friend School is heads, hands, heart, spirit. So Friend School aims to, when working with children, to nurture all of these aspects. So the cognitive, intellect of students, hands-on learning that's really applicable to the real world, the hearts and the spirits, meaning like the social emotional learning and just really seeing each child for the unique being that they are and supporting them and finding education as a way to find joy and fulfillment and purpose in the world. And so, just as Friend School aims to do that for students, the Friend School Teacher Preparation Program, those are the same values that we bring to teacher preparation. So, I'm really passionate about nurturing the heads, hands, hearts, and spirits of future and current teachers. And so the way that we do that is we really focus on culturally responsive teaching practices, meaning teaching teachers how to harness the cultural strengths and values and experiences of every single student to teach to and through those strengths. Really working with teachers to honor the whole child and understand the developmental continuum. Mindfulness for teachers. We know that there's a high burnout rate among teachers. And so, mindfulness practices for me as a teacher, it took me years to realize how much that impacted my ability to stay grounded and centered and resourced in the classroom. So, we offer that. And it's a smaller program than most other programs in the state. And so, we really focus on relationships and high levels of mentorship and support to get you through your licensure year. So here is a little bit more of a logistical slide. There are two models that you can choose for how you want to go through the program. The first is the residency model. This is an unpaid model. This is a little bit more like traditional student teaching, if you've heard of student teaching. And so under this model, you would spend 4 days a week rather than five teaching in the classroom. And you're doing that alongside a mentor teacher who is the lead teacher, the teacher of record in the classroom. So this is sort of like being an apprentice. It's if you can swing it financially, most teacher candidates say it just allows for each student teacher candidate to go really at their own pace of starting out by observing, really watching what the mentor teacher does, gradually taking over responsibility, helping students one-on-ones, small groups, and then gradually starting to lead teaching some lessons and increasing that more and more. However, it is unpaid, and I'll talk a bit about funding options later on. So it's not accessible to everyone, and that's why I'm really passionate also about the employee model. And in that model, it's usually 5 days a week that you're teaching in the classroom. And so being paid is really helpful. The way that works in terms of what kind of employee you might be is you actually gain employment on your own as either a teacher of record. So sometimes folks, because it was a really hard to fill position, or they're in an independent school, they're able to become teachers of record. Without their teaching license as long as they're in a program like ours. So that would be a model where you're like the lead teacher and you're completing the program at the same time. It's more common for folks to get jobs as paraeducators because you don't need your teaching license to be a paraeducator. And that could be a half-time paraeducator, three-quarter time, or full-time, as long as it's in at least half of the time in a general education classroom setting. And then sometimes assistant teachers aren't required to be licensed, so that's another option as well. And so in that way, you're still learning alongside a mentor teacher who's like the lead teacher in the classroom. But you're also working, you have your responsibilities as a para or an assistant teacher. For the teacher of record version of that, your mentor teacher is usually like your assistant principal or your instructional coach in the building. So the employee model gets a little complicated, and when folks go that route, I just work with them one-on-one so that we can design the ideal, sort of model for you. Most of our candidates actually complete the employee model. I would say it's maybe 2/3 do the employee model, 1/3 do the residency model. So it really can work either way. It's really just about what works for you at your moment in life and your finances. Either way, you are increasing the responsibility in terms of how much you're getting experience and practice and coaching and feedback teaching over the course of the year. Currently, we are authorized to offer a 1-year alternative licensure program for either early childhood education or elementary education. Early childhood would mean that you become licensed in pre-K through second grade. Elementary education would be kindergarten through sixth grade. And it's also possible to add a secondary endorsement. So if you have a degree in literature, for example, or in science, you're automatically able to add on a secondary, meaning 6 through 12 endorsement in that area. And even if you don't have a degree, sometimes if you have 24 credits that align with what the Colorado State Department of Education is looking for, you can automatically add that endorsement, or you can simply take an additional praxis test, they're called, to show you have the content knowledge. Let's say if you wanted to teach secondary math, you can complete our program in a sixth grade classroom under the elementary pathway, and then with a math exam, just add on that endorsement. So a lot of people, once you get your initial licensure, it's very easy to add on these other endorsements and just expand where you're able to apply for jobs. And so it takes 1 year where you are under your alternative license, and then you're able to apply to any full teaching position in any public school, any independent school in Colorado. And it's also very easy to transfer a Colorado teaching license to other states if you were to move in the future. So I'm going to just keep talking a little bit more and then I'll pause for questions. So as I said, we really focus on learning by doing and hands-on learning. And so that's why you have a full year in a classroom, in a school, actually learning by observing great teachers teach and working with students directly. We have a really robust support system where you've got your mentor teacher who you're with each day in the classroom. You have an advisor, which is someone that Friends School hires to support you and offer you observations and coaching and is there if you've had a hard day. You can pick up the phone and call them. They're usually retired teachers or like Monica, veteran teachers or retired principals. And then there's me. I'm in close touch with every single teacher candidate in the program. These pictures you see here we start with a 6-day in-person orientation week towards the end of July. That's the only sort of significant required in-person time. And then once the school year starts, it shifts to be almost entirely online with in-person options for people who want that for community building. And then we've got Zoom seminars. The way the model will work next year is weekly. So every Thursday evening, from 5 to 8, there will be a Zoom seminar where you're getting the theory and the pedagogy and the practices, and you're touching base with your cohort mates, and we do a little mindfulness activity, and then you're applying that learning in the classroom that next week. And then in addition to that, there's asynchronous, meaning not live, but online learning modules with flexible deadlines that you complete when it's convenient for you. And I'll talk more in a little bit about the option of getting an optional MA, master's degree in education, discounted from CU Denver. So let me just pause at this point to see if there are any questions. So this just goes over the way the online coursework looks. A lot of the coursework is through CU Denver. And so you can see here there are four licensure courses that you take, two in the fall where you do a child study working on understanding child growth and development, as well as curriculum design. Those are entirely asynchronous online. So you log in and you do the coursework at your own pace. But the CU Denver professors who teach those classes also teach the Thursday Zooms. So you feel like you can ask questions and you know who your professors of those courses are. Then this course, Teaching as a Profession, runs the whole year. And that's really a class. It's not like a ton of content. It really helps you reflect on what you're seeing in the classroom and how things are going. And then in the spring, you take another class on curriculum where you design a thematic unit. And that's really like your summative performance assessment, where in the spring semester between February and April, you design yourself a 10 lesson mini unit where you're integrating different content areas and you teach it and you give the assessments and you reflect on that. So that's really where by somewhere between February and April, you take on the responsibility for 2 weeks of being the lead teacher in the classroom. And your advisor and I come observe you. And that's really an opportunity for us to celebrate your growth and coach you on, teachers even who have been teaching for 15 years, we can always get better. So that's what that looks like. And if you decide that you want to get the discounted master's, these 12 credits get applied towards that master's. So you don't have to get the master's degree, but if you ever think you want a master's degree in education, it's wise to do it with us because you're almost halfway there with this licensure coursework anyway, and you get a discount for being in the program. So it's really a blend of live Zoom and asynchronous online work during the year so that you can really focus on your day-to-day in the classroom with students with those periodic monthly in-person options for one of the four seminars on Thursday evenings. Here you can see what it looks like in seminar. And we do a bunch of different, we have content experts, the instructors that teach those Thursday seminars. I teach a number of them, but then we've got professors and current teachers, principals. It's a really great actually networking opportunity to meet all these different instructors that come to the Zooms to teach about lesson planning, we have a math expert, a literacy expert, a special education expert, etc. And it also gives you variety in terms of the teaching styles. And during the Zooms, instructors make it really interactive, a lot of discussion. It's a great way to connect with your cohort mates. Because it is a small program, the cohort of teacher candidates becomes a really close-knit group that supports each other through this year. So we have a lot of fun in seminar. And then here you can see these are those same three courses that I just went over. These are the 12 credits that if you decide you want to pursue a master's in education, that is an extra cost that you pay directly to CU Denver. It's 30 credits total. So after your 12 credits with us during the licensure program, you can continue taking the online courses and it's possible to complete your master's in 2 years. However, if you don't want to sort of keep taking two classes a semester, you have up to 7 years to finish it. So you can really tailor it to the pace that you want to complete it at. It's a really great thing because most school districts and independent schools will start teachers at a higher salary if you have a master's in education. So it pays for itself pretty quickly. So as I said, you get discounted tuition with CU Denver because you're in the Friends program. You can get federal financial aid if you do that. And we also have an organization that we partner with that provides small grants and loans as well at really low interest rates. If you're interested in this, the CU Denver advisor gives a really in-depth information session in May. So you don't have to decide whether you want to do the master's program when you apply to the program. You can take your time. But I'm happy to answer more questions before then if you have them. And there are actually really three graduate options that I like to outline for people. So the first option is that you only pay the Friends teacher preparation program tuition and do not earn graduate credit or pursue an MA. So that's one option. The second option is that you pay for the graduate level credit. So that's paying for these 4 classes, these 12 credits that you're completing anyway. Um, and that way you can sort of like reserve those credits, get credit, transcripted credit for the work you've done. And then you can always later opt to continue with the master's degree. Or for folks who already have an MA, even if it's in another area, many teacher salaries increase if you have a master's plus 12 credits. That's like another tier higher salary. So it can be wise to just pay for these so that your salary starts at a higher rate. Or you can pursue the full MA and finish that in 2 years. So you can see here at the bottom of this slide there, the application deadlines. You're essentially automatically admitted to the master's if you're admitted to Friends Schools teacher preparation program. So it's a pretty streamlined process where I send whatever materials you send in to us to get admitted. I send those over to CU Denver. So it's very easy. To start in the fall, which is when most people start, you have to apply to the master's by June 1st. Some people like to start their coursework a little earlier. So, like if you applied soon and were admitted, oh, nope, I'm realizing where we are in time. It's November 17th. So it's too late for a spring start. But some folks, if you wanted to start in the summer of 2026 rather than the fall, if as long as you were admitted to Friends by April 1st, you could start the master's this summer. So that's just a way to get a head start on that coursework. And then here's just the cost. So the cost is the same whether you do the residency model or the employee model. It's about $11,000 for the teacher licensure program with us. That can be paid in one lump sum, or it can be paid in 2 installments, or it can be paid monthly to really spread it out. And the way that works is you put down a deposit of 10% to secure your spot in the program. And then the next payment starts in July of 2026 and would be monthly for 9 payments from there, or you could pay it in 1 or 2 bulk payments. So this delineates different financial aid opportunities. If you want to do the residency model at Friends School and you're offered a placement spot at Friends School in one of our pre-K through 6th grade classrooms, you get an automatic 30% tuition discount. Sometimes we have actually full ride scholarships for folks who complete their placement at Friends. That's all part of the application process and placement process. There's also a Kitsinger scholarship that tends to be between $2,000 and $7,000, and folks placed at Friends School and pursuing the MA get preference for that. As I said, there's this organization that's for women only who are pursuing the MA, where it's possible to get a grant of $3,000, or they offer loans whether you're pursuing the MA or not at like 2% interest. So really low loans that can be used for anything, living expenses, tuition. Then there are small scholarships through this organization called teachcolorado.org. If you complete the employee model, so let's say you get a teacher of record job or a paraeducation job. If that is in a public school, there's something called the Educator Recruitment and Retention Grant, the ERR grant. And so if you're a para or a teacher of record in a public school and you agree that you're willing to teach for 3 years in a shortage content area in Colorado public schools, and right now all content areas in Colorado are shortage areas. So basically, if you're willing to teach in public schools for 3 years in Colorado, you automatically are eligible for this $5,000 to $7,000 grant. So it covers most of your tuition. It is first come, first serve. So it behooves people to just be admitted and get all your paperwork together early so that as soon as the grant opens, July 1st, you're at the beginning of the line to get that grant money. And then you can see these other same things are available to employee model folks as well. So this is the last slide, and then I'll take questions. The application is linked on our website, and it really shouldn't take longer than 20-25 minutes to complete, max. And then you have your official transcript sent directly to me, 2 letters of recommendation, have them sent directly to me. And you include your resume and a short little, like a paragraph in response to 3 questions about your interest. And that's it. And then I really help you, work with you if you're admitted one-on-one on figuring out the right school placement for you and getting your Colorado Department of Education alternative license application in and approved. It's basically just fingerprinting and a quick form. And then if you want to apply to CU Denver, but you don't have to. And then, sorry, I do have one more slide. The praxis tests people ask about a lot. In order to enroll in the alternative teacher licensing program and get that alternative license, if you're pursuing the elementary education license, you have to pass the elementary mathematics test. If you're doing the early childhood, you have to pass the education of young children praxis exam. And if you're admitted, we give you free praxis study resources before. And then at the very end of the program, after you've studied literacy and how to teach reading with us, then you take one more praxis exam, either way, about how to teach reading. And that's what allows you completing our program and passing that final test is how you get your full initial Colorado teaching license. 90 to 95% of our graduates had full-time teaching jobs by the fall after graduating from our program because the program is well known in the area and it's even expanding. We've got folks placed in Durango and Telluride, so all over Colorado. And folks are, there's a teacher shortage, so always looking for teachers. So that's a bit about the praxis exams. Once you apply, you go through an interview with me, and then we work really closely together to find the right school placement for you, and I walk you through all the next steps. So let me pause there, and I'm always super accessible. You can shoot me an email, you can set up a one-on-one meeting with me. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have.